You're watching Calf Kick Sports Podcast.
Hey folks, the UFC off-season is over and we are back to major events. In Abu Dhabi, the oldest men of the division will meet for a title at UFC 267. The rest of the event has the highest of stakes fights. Welcome to the Calf Kick Sports Podcast. My name is Tim Wheaton, and as always, I'm joined by Ash, and today to help break down the main card, we have a featured guest, Sugar Ray from the Weigh In Podcast. Ray, what's going on, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. Been interested in this pod for a long time. I've known Ash for a while. We've always spoken MMA, so when I had the opportunity to come on, I had to take it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ray, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Meaning to do this for a while, so this is going to be great.
Yeah, no, Ray's like he was one of the guys that we talked to when we were first starting the podcast. Ray with the Weigh In Podcast. Make sure to check that out. It's a really good podcast, and they focus on boxing. And unlike a lot of boxing podcasts, they actually know what they're talking about. So, Ash, let me start with you, Ash. You've known Ray for a while. You've known Tim for a while. You have to pick. Who do you like more?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to flip for it, boys. I'm sorry.
Or as we say in the UK, no comment.
No, That's great.
Man, I'm really excited for this card, honestly. Like the battle of the dinosaurs, man. Like who you lads got, man? It's a bit rude, isn't it? Dinosaurs, but who you lads got in this?
Well, let me just do a quick programming note. We got some new music on the show. Thank you to the Josh and Mike show. I will put the links out there. So if you folks like the music, check out the Josh and Mike show. If you don't like the music, reach out to the Josh and Mike show and talk to them. I don't care. Jan Błachowicz is defending his championship against Glover Teixeira. Let's just jump right into it. Let's not waste any time, like Ash was alluding to. Ray, break down the fight. What do you see in this matchup? Who do you like? Give us all the details.
Man, this is a tricky one because 5 years ago, if you told me Jan Błachowicz and Glover Teixeira would have been in the title fight, I would have said you're on crack. But
yeah,
I mean, listen, man, you got to give them so much credit because these are two guys that have reinvented themselves in a big way. I still remember when Jan first came into the UFC and he was fighting the likes of like Gustafsson and Jimmy Manoa, and he was always seen as if you would, tough gatekeeper. Like it's a very hard test for people to come by, and to see the transformation now is just like, wow, this is crazy. So I'm leaning towards Jan in this fight, but the way that Glover has made a real big comeback, I cannot rule him out because, man, this guy is tough as nails. So absolutely. I'm leaning towards Jan, but if Glover gets the win, do not be surprised.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one, man. And for a long time, even people like myself, man, the last fight with Thiago Santos, I was like, Thiago Santos, man, he's definitely going to win this, man. He looked really impressive against John Jones, and he proved everyone wrong again, man. Like he even got dropped in that fight, and he managed to come away with a submission, rear naked choke. So he's constantly over and over again proving people wrong. He's in a 5-fight win streak. Having said that, though, I do feel like there's a massive speed disadvantage in the stand-up with Glover. He looks very slow, man. You guys noticed that as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. He's glacially slow. He's clearly an old man.
A lot slower than he was before, for sure.
Yeah, I think he's what he's done, though, he's adapted his style to someone that doesn't need to rely on young boy reflexes, if you'd call it that. So that's what makes it interesting, because certain fighters, you look at them, you're like, look how slow and gingerly they move. Yeah. And then you're thinking, how the F is he dominating someone? But I think he's just adopted a more suffocating style, which has just led to this resurgence. And man, he's beaten some top names to get to this point as well. So credit to him.
For sure. And I don't know if you remember this, Ray, but this is in 2016. We were actually watching this fight at mine. It was Johnson, Rumble Johnson.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, I can't. I'm gonna go towards Johnson. But at the time, Glover was looking like an absolute monster, man. He just KO'd Rashad Evans. He just KO'd Patrick Cubbins. He choked out Irvin St. Preux. And he got taken out in 13 seconds, man, by Anthony Johnson. And I think after that, he's adapted his style. He's become a bit more grappling heavy. and a lot more patient. He's become he doesn't. So against Anthony Smith, for example, the first minute or two, I think he was just gauging what Smith was doing, and Smith was tagging him with straights and like nice 1-2 hook cross combinations as well. And then later on, I felt like Glover just conserved the energy and took him to the ground and finished him.
Man, what a throwback.
I love what you're saying with this too, because I like what you guys are getting at here. With did the division get worse or did Glover get better? And both of you are kind of alluding to the Glover adjusted his style to adapt to a division. To like he knew he's getting a little bit slower. He's getting on in years. He was getting tagged by much faster fighters, and he changed his style. Right, he lost to Alexander Gustafsson. He lost to Johnson, like you guys had watched live. But then he changed his style, right, Ash?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely he changed it up. He became more grappling heavy, very smart, very cerebral, as you mentioned, Ray. Like a lot more because he knows he's got amazing grappling ability, and he's not the fastest striker anymore, man. He's in a. It's getting younger and younger, the light heavyweight division.
Yeah,
we potentially got Paulo Costa in there now. Like more young guys in there. Jiri Prochazka. You got Dominic Reyes. He's still a fucking beast. And you got Oezdemir as well, younger guys there now.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to adapt right now, and I think Glover knows. He's not that vicious striker that he was in 2014, where he was brawling with James Tahuna. Like that's just a little throwback there. Or Fabio Maldonado. He's not as fast as that anymore. So but that's just my take on it. I think that's why he's changed.
No, totally co-sign with you guys. I'll do a quick technical breakdown, and then I'm going to ask you guys a couple more questions. But the thing is with Glover is that he has gotten slower, but he's winning fights. But against Thiago Santos and Anthony Smith, he opens the fight standing, and he constantly gets hit by these guys. He almost has to go for the takedown as like that's his plan B from the looks of things. A lot of his takedowns come from he got knocked down and he was already on the ground, so he thought, well, okay, we'll just stay here. But quite often, like we saw in that Johnson fight, like you guys mentioned, he overcommits on strikes. His chin is ahead of his knees quite often because he relies on head movement as a defense, which in MMA is not wrong. It's just you might get kicked in the head, you might get hit.
Yeah.
You got to use your feet first because it's safer. But if you're using your head first, you're probably just going to get hit, especially with smaller gloves and stuff. But yeah, Glover. Now we're going to switch to talking about Jan Błachowicz, but Glover won't be as elusive as in his last fight against Adesanya. If you stand in front of him with no fakes and no footwork, Jan is going to hit you. Jan has good distance, Jan has good distance control. He moves just enough so his opponents don't land on him. Defensively, he moves his feet first. He also circles out of the cage, so he's never backing up straight up into it. He's not using straight line entries. He's not exiting on straight lines. He does a lot of good things. I'm going to specifically say the left hook. Jan loves the left hook, and the left hook was landing on Glover for his last couple of fights and dropped him. I'm going to say, and I know this is probably going to sound meme, I'm going to say Jan Błachowicz wins this fight. First round, TKO.
First round, damn. With
a lead left hook. Go ahead, boys. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm hearing it. I'm booking it. The way you've just broken it down.
Yeah.
I'll say fair enough. That's a fair shout.
Yeah. I mean, man, This is hard for me, man, because I love Glover, but you could be right, man. It could be a first round KO because Jan, like, I wasn't expecting Jan to beat Izzy the way he did, like 3 rounds standing, and I don't care what the commentators were saying. I thought Jan was winning some of those rounds anyway. So,
yeah, it could definitely be argued.
Yeah, the stand up from Jan, it's just a ridiculous improvement to how it was before. He's gone so much better, as Ray said. I mean, what do you think, Ray? Where do you think who do you think is going to take this?
I think Jan is Jan's fight to lose because with him his timing is very good and he's not someone that rushes into anything. He doesn't force anything. Because even in the Reyes fight, you could see it was almost like it was slow cooking him.
Yeah.
It's like, you could have fast food, but let me give you this proper cooked meal right here, I remember he hit him with like a devastating body kick. I remember it marked up Reyes, but he still didn't go for the kill just yet. He was going he was just popping him here and there, getting him with nice, good, solid shots, like just two punch combos and whatnot. But then when he realized that Reyes was rocked, that's when he went in for the kill. And I think just the maturity in how he fights has been very key in his, I guess, second uprising. Because, like I said before, he was a guy that was just lost in the pack of light heavyweights. And then he managed to turn a corner. And I think what was good in the Izzy fight is that when he showed his grappling, it was kind of like when you're at the top, you have to be well-rounded. You can't just be one dominant style and think that you're going to dominate. Don't get me wrong, there's rarities out there like the Habibs of the world that can do that, but not everyone's the Habib of their division. So I think the well-roundedness of Jan and seeing who he's been training with of late, I saw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wise, he's trained with BJJ legend called Braulio Estima. So he's a very well-renowned grappling what do you say, fighter? I know some people have this thing where they don't like to call grapplers fighters, but hey ho. But yeah, I've seen that Jan is training with some very solid people, and just the way he's had his head screwed on, I think it's his fight to lose.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, begrudgingly, I'm gonna have to say Jan as well is probably gonna take this, and if I had to pick, it'll be a third round KO. I feel like they're both gonna do a lot of waiting, and it'll be a bit like tit for tat at the beginning. But eventually, I think Jan is going to catch him and finish him in the third round for sure.
Yeah, we got 3 Jans. And what I also like, we're seeing 3 different good things about Jan Błachowicz. We're not picking the same thing. We're seeing very different things. But you know who's coming into making weight this weekend as a backup is Jiří Procházka. Let's say Glover gets injured. Is Jiří versus Jan a better fight?
Very scary fight. Jiří is a scary dude. Like watching his fight with Reyes was crazy because Jiří got tagged sometimes, and I said, "What the hell would bring this guy down if the shots that Reyes was landing on him wasn't like either he's got a brilliant poker face or this guy's face is made out of titanium?" Because he was taking shots from Reyes, and the finish of the spinning back elbow was just. I believe Cub Swanson dubs it beautiful violence. Like it was art. It was quite horrific how it ended, but it was art in how he just set up the spinning back elbow. And for me, I would really want the Jan and Glover fight to happen because I feel that Jan deserves for this fight to happen in Poland, and if he does fight Jiří next.
That would be huge. Yeah. I mean, it would be good for us fans in the UK as well. Hopefully they actually cater to the European audience and put on a fucking decent time. But yeah, that was probably one of the first fights me and Tim broke down actually. And I actually had Reyes coming into that fight. I didn't really know too much about Jiří because I hadn't really watched
likewise.
His Ryzen fights, but the guy is like a fucking Terminator, man. Like you hit him and he just keeps coming forward, and he does a lot of things technically wrong as well, man. He keeps his hands extremely low. He takes a lot of shots, but he still manages to win. So that would be a better fight, man. But here's the thing, yeah. Let's say the upset happens, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with Tim for this one. So let's say the upset happens, and then you get Glover that wins somehow.
Yeah.
It can happen. You can choke that or something.
It's a somehow that finishes me, but go on.
There's a chance, man. There's a chance, lads. But what if he wins? Do you think him versus Jiří? Who do you think wins out of the two of those guys?
Jiří.
I don't know. Style-wise, Glover might have a better chance against Jiří. Because keep in mind, we just saw Jiří Procházka a few years ago struggle with King Mo Lawal, and he got out-wrestled by Vadim Nemkov. And Vadim Nemkov, if you drop him in the UFC, he's probably number 2 at worst, right? So Vadim, no knock on him there. But his counter-wrestling leaves a bit to be desired. I don't know. I think Jiří versus Glover is probably more... that's probably a better fight for Glover, honestly. But I don't know. What do you boys think?
I think that's the biggest thing is that how much has Jiří's counter wrestling improved? Because Reyes was more than willing to strike with him. I don't remember if he tried to put some grappling in there, but what I would presume is that if he did, that Reyes probably took too much damage to make the wrestling be as effective as it could be if he didn't take as many hits. And I think that's just the biggest thing, especially with Jan showing his grappling against Izzy as well. I don't think it'll be lightly. If they fight Yuri and Jan, then it could be a fight where Jan might get lit up at the feet. I might just think to himself, do you know, if I can't knock this guy out, let me take him to the ground. And from what I understand, Jan is also a black belt, so maybe it might be a time when he might decide to show his grappling skills.
Man, Ray, we got to have you back. You're wasting your time on this boxing podcast. You
MMA is my first love out of the two, so yeah, this is a joy to speak on.
Man, anytime. But let's move down the card a little bit because we got the Petr Yan. I'm a little bit embarrassed for the guy. I feel a little bit bad for him because he agreed to fight under Pride rules, but he accidentally signed. He signed the UFC rules contract, and it was a misunderstanding. He didn't know that was happening, so he did technically under Pride rules win the fight. He's clearly the winner under Pride rules, under ONE FC rules. He's clearly the winner. But yeah, it's hard to get back on track now. But tight Muay Thai styled striker. His opponent Cory Sandhagen, he's a long boy coming off a close decision, lost to TJ Dillashaw. Even though Cory Sandhagen may have had the best moments in that fight, this is a great fight. Bantamweight is such a good division, and this is arguably the number 1 versus number 2. You know, worst, this is 3 versus 4. This is an incredible fight.
This is the real title fight, man. This is the real title fight.
Don't do my boy Aljamain like that, man.
Aldo, I like Aldo. Like I don't have any hatred for him or nothing. But let's face it, yeah, Pierre John versus Aldo. Pierre was on the way to getting that win anyway. He was on the way to getting that win. We never know. Look, I could be wrong. Aldo might have rallied in the 4th and 5th, but Aldo's just looking really tired, man. Like, by the 3rd or 4th round, he was looking really tired. Yeah. And I think that would have been Jan's win. And arguably, Cory Sandhagen beat TJ Dillashaw. This is probably the closest title fight as you can get.
But then here's where the MMA math gets awkward, because the way Aljamain handled Sandhagen.
Yeah, that's true.
So the only thing is, going into this fight, I won't even say worries me for Jan. Petr Yan. I think what people forgot to realize is that I feel like Aljamain showed a lot of holes in Petr Yan's game in the first fight. Even though he got dominated, people forget the first round, I gave it to Aljamain, and I think Aljamain put it on him early, and people forget that Aljamain actually dropped Petr Yan with a flying knee. And the issue is, with Sandhagen, he loves those type of techniques.
Yes,
so yeah. I'm sure Pierre John's going to be. I'm sure Cory's going to be watching that, thinking, well,
yeah,
if Aljamain was able to do that to him in the early rounds, he might just think, you know what, F it, I'm gonna just go for it. And even watching back on that Aljamain fight, I was thinking to myself, and I think Daniel Cormier mentioned it as well, is like Aljamain was fighting like a guy that doesn't believe in himself. Like He's fighting, but there's no belief in what you're doing. You're just flailing out techniques where it's just like he was fighting very nervous.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, for sure. He wasn't fighting as he normally did, and I think that nervous energy probably made him a little bit more tired. I mean, right at the beginning, he was doing everything right. He was throwing body kicks, and that's what you do to a guy like Pierre John, who's got a classically really high guard. Even Aldo was cracking him with body shots and kicks as well to the body, in their fight. But I think with Aldo, he didn't conserve his energy. He just went straight in 100 right at the beginning, and I think that might have attributed to the cardio.
For sure. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely correct. That Cory Sandhagen knee is that he landed on Frankie Edgar is picture of what Aljamain Sterling. That's what Aljo was doing to Petr Yan in the fight. Man, this is a tough fight to pick. I genuinely don't. So I picked Aljamain Sterling to beat Petr Yan as well. Aljo was he's on like a 5-fight submission streak in the best division in the UFC. The guy looked untouchable, but yeah, in that fight, like you guys said, he was shaking his head. He didn't look confident. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. And I feel bad that the way the community's treating him. He actually does have injuries. People act like he was faking it. He got kneed in the head so cleanly. Like,
even if he was faking it, take
I'll take it, man, all day.
F that. You think you're landing something like that on me in the 4th round when I was losing, and you think, for me, he shouldn't have even faked it. He should have just said, well, I'm sure he was in pain because that knee was flush. But if that was me, I would have said, listen, I'm dizzy. I'm not going to consider going back whilst I'm dizzy. Done.
Yeah,
Like,
take the
why are
belts.
you arguing? Yeah, get your belt, get paid. Like, I think people forget because it's entertainment. They forget like this is about getting paid. Like they're prize fighters, and at the end of the day, whether you think that Aljamain deserved it or not, now he's gonna go into that fight with more pay.
Yes, definitely.
Listen, man, he done the right thing. I don't care what no one else says. He done the exact right thing he should have done. And all the people that's got a problem with that, listen, man, they're here today and gone tomorrow. They're gonna boo him today, and then the next week they're gonna boo Paulo Costa, and then next week they're gonna find a new villain. So listen, man, go get paid.
That's true, and you might as well be the villain if it adds some zeros to your pay package.
Man.
Oh, absolutely. And because he's champion, he's got more sponsorships. He hasn't fought and he has more sponsorships than he ever has in history. But yeah, switching back to Cory and Petr. Petr uses tons of feints, low kicks. He's mixing high and low, strikes off rhythm. Like he was fighting guys like Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo, and he's surprising them when he's throwing shots because he throws off rhythm. He picks his shots. He has low output, but everything has high impact when he throws it. Cory is a long boy, tons of shifting, tons of feints on entries, jabs and low kick to really complement his length. This is a weird fight because I don't know if Jan is going to control the center and Cory can just throw himself at him and Cory might get knocked out, or Cory's actually just going to hit him a bunch of times and use length, and Jan can never find the range. I could also see Jan just getting a takedown at some point and winning from there. I don't know what to expect from this fight. This is a great matchup, right?
This is very, very difficult to call. I actually think Pierre John should go for some unorthodox takedowns like he did against Aldo with some foot sweeps, and I think Cory is definitely going to throw kicks. So if he's going to throw kicks, I think Jan should anticipate that and go for those foot sweeps that he did to Aldo, because classically, Cory isn't that great on the ground. Like he's not amazing on the bottom. Like if you get on top of him, we've seen it time and time again. Like he's been fairly dominated on the ground. So yeah, I think he's definitely going to mix in takedowns for sure.
It's a wise idea. Ray, what do you think? Who do you have in this fight? How do you think it ends?
I think this is Sandhagen's fight to lose. Styles make fights, and I feel like if Sandhagen fights the right fight, it's his fight to lose. Most of the time, I go with a rangy fighter unless the shorter guy is a elite wrestler. And it's not that Pierre John's not an elite wrestler. It's the fact that he prefers to use striking. Yeah. And I feel like if someone like Sandhagen can keep him at distance and fight smart, then I think he should have it. Because I remember watching the Dillashaw fight, who was shorter than Sandhagen, but unfortunately for Sandhagen is that Dillashaw's striking style and fight IQ is so high that he was able to get in the inside and rough him up, which I'm sure Peter Yarns is probably looking at that thinking, cool, I don't have the same movements as Dillashaw, but if I can get on if he allows me to get on the inside and fight him like that, then he's going to tear him up. And this is why I say it's Sandhagen's fight to lose, because watching that last fight of his, there were certain times where it's kind of like he wanted to get into a scrap with TJ. And as a smart fighter, it's kind of that thing of, why get into a scrap when you can win cleanly?
Yeah.
So it's just, and I'm sure that Sandhagen probably learned a lot from that loss, because he probably looking at that thinking he made stupid mistakes by engaging with TJ when he didn't need to, all because he wanted to have a scrap. And I feel like that might have, sometimes they say losses are wins, and if if Sandhagen is smart, he'll learn from that loss and realize, go in there, be cerebral and fight smart. And if Sandhagen fights smart, it's his fight. So I'm going to go with either early TKO with I don't know, it's going to be something flying going to be involved. Maybe it's flying Superman punch. He's going to use a strike from distance.
Yeah.
To drop him, and then I think it'll be a TKO.
No, I love this because we got such different predictions from both of you, but both of you recognize like there's so many ifs. There's so many what if this happens, right? Yeah. If it's on the inside, if it's on the ground, this happens. Ash, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean with Jan as well. You know what's freaky about Jan? He doesn't look like he doesn't look like a monster, like a specimen. When you see him against Aldo looked like the bigger man, and he got beaten. And even against Aldo looked way bigger than him. and
Yeah.
you can see the strength advantage that Jan has. I can only imagine Jan is probably a bit stronger than Cory as well.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, if I was, you know, the corner of Jan, you wouldn't fuck with Cory's like stand up for 5 rounds straight. You need to mix in some takedowns. I've actually got Jan in this, man, but I might be wrong. Like, it can go either way, in all honesty.
Yeah, same. I'm officially picking Jan, but like I don't know. Then it could go the other way. Like you said, like he could just stay on the outside. Cory can just light him up from there, throw a lot of things that surprises him. I could absolutely see that happening. That's why it makes a great fight. Let's talk a little bit about Islam Makhachev. He is the mentor of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and this is the interesting thing that we've seen mentor relationships in the past with MMA, and we don't know what this relationship was going to look like. So it could be a Shogun Wanderlei, where clearly Shogun is the better fighter over time, or it could be more like Rory McDonald, George St. Pierre, where Rory's just never quite as good as George is. He's never the hope.
That hurt, man.
I'm sorry, boys. Man, he's
little side note. No, GSP is one of my favorite fighters ever, arguably my favorite fighter. And I remember when Rory first came onto the scene, I remember telling so many of my friends that were getting into MMA at the time. I think it was around the time like GSP was coming out of the sport. So I'm telling a lot of friends at the time, listen, man, Rory's going to be the guy. Rory's going to be the guy, I'm telling you. And obviously how it turned out, he had some success. I'm happy he got the world title in Bellator, but for the skills that he had, he didn't live up to expectation. But apologies, you triggered me right there. But sorry, as you go to
No, but that's the thing. You're absolutely right. They even fought in the same division. And sometimes when you have a mentor and a mentee relationship, you want to say like, this guy's the next great. And that's what they all said about Rory. But you never know. Like, for example, with Khabib, we know over time that he had so much grit, and that almost made him. It wasn't even his grappling so much. It wasn't so much his striking. His grit was better than anybody else's. Khabib was tougher than anyone else. And sometimes it's like, we don't know if Islam is lacking that. He might have all the same grappling, but if he doesn't have that same grit, then he's not going to be quite as good. And he might be better. I don't know. But yeah, Rory, some of the greatest fights in history. We know he's tough as nails, competed in the same division. Like he absolutely slaughtered Nate Diaz. He had a great fight with Carlos Condit. Robbie Lawler, right? He's got a legendary career. Boys, go ahead. Tell me about Rory.
I mean, the main difference is, though, back then, I feel like the UFC were a lot more savage with just pitting people straight away, to just killers. So here's the thing, Rory McDonald's second fight in the UFC was against Carlos Condit when he was 21 years old. I think he's 20 years old. So he was a 20-year-old kid, and you're fighting a monster like Carlos Condit. By the way, he was winning 2 rounds of that. He gassed out in the third, and Condit finished him. And I think there's a major difference, though, with how the way, Makhachev's career is. Well, he's got knocked out as well, like early into his UFC career, but I feel like the UFC built him, maybe because everyone just turns the fight down against Islam. But yeah, he's had a lot slower kind of rise to where he's at right now.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting fight because, man, it's really tough to pick. It is honestly tough to pick because Islam hasn't fought anyone at this hasn't fought anyone at this level. This is a clear step up in competition. And if we're just looking at, because there's 2 things I'm going to compare. If we're just looking at the eye test, Islam has mauled everybody. The eye test says Islam. When you look at on paper who they're fighting, Dan Hooker clearly wins this fight because he's fought better competition. He's fought great Dustin Poirier. He's really great fighters. But I don't know what to expect of this fight because I don't know where Islam's skills are. He might dominate this fight or he might lose. I genuinely don't know because we've never seen Islam at this level, right, guys?
Yeah, but definitely. We never seen Islam fight someone like Hooker. The last fight he had was against Thiago Moises, and the one before that, Drew Dober. He looked really good against Drew Dober.
Very good, yeah.
He looked amazing, man. Look, just dominant, just smashed him.
Flawless, yes.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Ray? Anyway, that fight against Drew Dober.
I think it's similar to the criticism I had for Sandhagen. Dan Hooker is someone that likes to engage in firefights. I think he even criticized himself for that. In that. He once he gets tagged, he'll just go and revert back to type. And his type is going in there and having a scrap, and he loves it. He loves like the whole getting into war of it. You will see him on like his social media posts. He'll put pictures of himself all bruised and bad, but he'll be happy with it. But like I said before, to be great, you gotta fight smart and not just hard. So I don't know if some of the close calls that he's had in fights have kind of taught him that you've had your battles if you'd like. So now it's time to get in there, get paid, and get that title. So I think he himself knows he's more than capable in ability. Like he's very well-rounded guy. Striking is very good. His grappling is very good, and it's going to be, I guess, a test of seeing is Makhachev's grappling as good as or similar to Habib's, because I think they both are heavy grapplers but different styles. But I also know that Islam is more willing to strike as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is you get more people that are more discipline heavy in certain areas. But for me, this will be a proper mixed martial arts bout where both guys have the abilities to be devastating in all areas. And what it's going to come down to is who's got the best resolve out of all of them. I think it's going to be a battle and a war. I believe this is all only 3 rounds, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think Hooker is actually calling for 5 rounds, funnily enough.
What a crazy lad. But I think it's going to, I know that both of them got impressive gas tanks. So now it's going to be to see, is it going to be the battle of attrition of who wants it more? Or sometimes it may not even be who wants it more. It might just be whose body can take the more damage to the other. But I got a feeling that Makhachev is going to go in there and try to be wrestle heavy, because that Dagestan style, they're very big on that. So expect Makhachev to go in there and try maul him from the get-go and go for the submission. And it's going to be on Hooker to use his counter wrestling and use strikes from distance and piece him up and see that maybe he sees holes that the first way that Makhachev got beat by a knockout.
Yeah.
Maybe Hooker might look at him and say it can happen again. So we'll see.
Do you think Hooker's going to go for knees though? Because if he gives that knee away, he's technically
I think he will.
More of a chance.
Dan Hooker's knees are some of the best I've seen in MMA in years. It's like the angle that he does it from and the length, like he uses leverages very well.
Yeah.
Is that very few people use their leverage as well as Dan Hooker. So when he does those knees, the timing of it, the positioning of it, he makes sure he gets people with the knees full flush. So I think if he does it, he won't do it in a lazy way that will get him taken down. Most times that he does do it, he's make sure that he's upright. He makes sure that he's got the opponent in a place where it will hit flush. And then if it hit flush and Makhachev survives that and can grapple him, then good luck to him. But yeah, I can't see Dan Hooker being sloppy with the knees when he does execute them. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, he's a guy who loves a shootout, doesn't he? Like he threw down with Paul Felder. He threw down with Dustin Poirier, Paul Felder. He got pegged in the body 19, like a billion times against Edson Barboza. And
that's hard to watch.
Yeah, that was brutal.
But he was also having gym wars. There's videos of him and Israel Adesanya actually just going to war. Like this guy, him throwing down is what we love about him, and probably like where I don't know. Like that's not a good thing. You don't want to actually do that.
Long term is not a good thing. And like I said, even like Israel Adesanya when he fought Kelvin Gastelum, sorry. I remember he even Israel even saying, "Do you know what? It was nice to know that I've got that dog in me to go to war if I need be." But he was just like, it was a stupid fight. There's no need for me to fight someone as short as Kelvin like that. And you've seen Izzy now with like how impressive he looks in his wins. He makes sure that he just goes out there and fights to his strength. So let's see if Dan Hooker will do the same and not revert back to type, because he loves a gunfight, but sometimes, man, be a sniper, not a machine gun.
That's good. It's a gangster move for him to step on a month's notice. Real BMF move. Be a sniper, not a machine gun. Love that. Ash, what do you see in the fight? How do you see it going?
I honestly think, you know what? I actually think Dan Hooker might win this. I'm gonna go in and place a small bet, not a huge bet on Dan Hooker, but I think. There's 3 rounds to go. Dan Hooker, he's not shit on the ground. If he can avoid it, just for a moment and clip him, you never know, man. The smart bet will probably be Islam Makhachev, just take him down and maul him. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as against a guy as long and big as Hooker as well.
No way. He makes a war with everyone. He'll make sure that whoever he goes in there with, you're gonna know that he was in there with Dan Hooker. So
I got Hooker by decision.
Oh wow.
Yeah, genuinely Hooker by decision, which is probably something I'm gonna regret betting on, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Just stand behind your bet.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that for sure.
What's the odds on that? Is it a good bet? Are you making some good scratch on that?
I think it'll be more than 2-1, man, for sure. I need to double check that, but I just feel like with Hooker, he's probably I could just see him outclassing him, man. Genuinely, just because Islam Makhachev, he hasn't fought anyone in the top 10. I could be completely wrong, by the way, and we just see a masterclass from Islam, but I just don't find it very fair, how Islam Makhachev is like number 5, after being a number 15. It's not a really.
You know what? I kind of get only because it's like if so many people try to avoid him, then it's kind of like how can you rank someone above him that's afraid to fight him?
Yeah,
the math ain't mathing, but I get it at the same time.
Yeah, they don't want to lose their spot, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
No, I do agree with you. I am actually going to pick Dan Hooker as well. I know it's like this on paper, he's fought better competition. He has better takedown defense against better competition. I could be totally wrong because the step up in competition for Islam Makhachev, you don't know.
Sure.
Does he deserve to be here? Does he not? He might, and he might be way better. I'm just going to pick the smarter pick, which in this case is Dan Hooker, who on paper has fought better fighters. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I love this matchup because it's a lot of fun. Do you guys want to talk about Khamzat Chimaev a little bit? You guys into that one?
I love this guy, man. Like, this guy is such a don, man. Like, but there's so many factors now because he's had COVID. He's been sick. He retired. He retired. He retired. Yeah. And then he came back and, like, he's not been as vocal, man. Before it was like, smash this and smash that. Like, he's just not being as vocal anymore. And I think he's maybe matured as a fighter, but, man, he's got a big test against Li Jingliang, man. That's going to be a tough fight.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with like he did retire because he was so sick. He was close to death. They flew him to the United States. He's 9-0 in his career. He's taken one significant strike in his UFC career, which has been something insane. Like he's fought less than 5 minutes in 3 fights. But yeah, he was incredibly sick. Now, the thing is, like, you can't really get much from those fights because they were so fast. We know he's looking to do like A, B, and C, but what happens if you put X, Y, and Z against him? What happens then? We have no idea. Li Jingliang is a great fight. He is a gatekeeper fighter, so you need to beat him. You absolutely have to beat him to be in the UFC top 10
for sure. 100%.
Did Lee the one that beat Ponzinibbio?
Yeah, he knocked him out, man. I was shocked. It's crazy.
Yeah, Lee is super tough. He's gritty. He's tough. He's a dirty fighter. He's good in every area, kind of thing. Of like, he's pretty good off of his back. He's good on top. He's good striking. He's good defensive striking. He's not great anywhere. He's just pretty good. So you do absolutely have to beat him. And this is another big step up for Khamzat. I think Khamzat does beat the gatekeeper in this case. I think it's just like, this is a matchup the UFC is really trying to put Khamzat over the top. And this is...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Ray, can you give us the full breakdown? What do you see in this one?
I think it'll be a battle of nerves for Khamzat. I think he's going to be battling himself because, like we discussed about him wanting to retire because of how the COVID complications had really messed him up. And I guess in this case, it's going to be a case of, can you get over yourself mentally? And I think the mental battle is what people don't consider. And the mental battle is what breaks a lot of prospects that we've seen come up. There's been a lot of prospects where like, oh, this is the next big thing, etc., etc. Given the fact that as well, I guess with his ethnicity of being like, of the Dagestan roots, I think a lot of people now, they just see a Dagestan fighter and then they expect big things. So I know that might weigh on him quite heavily. I know he's repping Sweden as well as Russia, or Dagestan, shall I say. I don't know the politics behind it, so let me not get no one in trouble. But it's going to be very interesting. And like we said, Lee is no joke. He goes in there, and he's a guy that he likes to ruin parties. The same way Ponzinibbio had come off from a long layoff and he was just brought in there to be a lamb to be slaughtered. But then what he turned out to be was the wolf to come and eat. So, don't sleep on Lee, because if you sleep on Lee, ask Ponzinibbio how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. I mean, look, when he came into when he fought Ponzinibbio had like what was it, 4-5 win streak, and people were talking about he needs to get a top 5 fight, and then he had that long layoff for whatever reason. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was like Lee was the lamb to be slaughtered, and instead he ended up being the wolf. Now there is one thing I got to point out. I don't think Lee's counter wrestling is amazing. He's been taken down by Neil Magny over, multiple times, as well as Jake Matthews. Yeah. So I do think that's stylistic matchup. Like stylistically, it's a great matchup for Chimaev. So I think Chimaev would win this, but it just comes down to, is he going to be battling himself as well as Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. This is a good matchup because we're going to learn a lot more about Khamzat Chimaev, and that's what we're really looking forward to here. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add on this matchup because we don't quite know enough about Khamzat. We'll see in this fight really where it's at. Magomed Ankalaev versus Volkan Oezdemir. This is a fun, violent matchup. All I put is that Volkan's probably going to win. He's a better fighter. He's going to win 2 rounds and then get knocked out. I don't know what else to say. What do you guys think of this one?
Magomed, man. Magomed all the way. That's going to be the heaviest bet I placed that night. I'm telling you. Like, I got him, man, because I think he's just leaps. He's so criminally underrated. I mean, I know he lost against Paul Craig a few years ago, but he was dominating that whole fight. And then literally the last second of that round, he got submitted, but yeah, he's just brilliant, man. Like Magomed, like even the difference between the first Iron Cutelaba fight and the second one, he showed he's a lot better.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Ray, what do you see in this one? This is a fun light heavyweight matchup.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen too much of Magomed, but Oezdemir I know has been a long stable in the light heavyweight division, so it's a tough test for anyone. And if you go in there unprepared against him, he'll finish you off. So you guys have said very good things about Magomed. So I'm looking forward to this fight. And if it's going to be as entertaining as you guys are saying, I'm looking forward to it. I've seen that he's the betting favorite in this. So
really?
See good things. Yeah, I think 2-7 for Magomed. So let's see if he lives up to the hype.
Yeah, it's tough. I think Magomed wins this fight as well. I think he's just going to be the better striker. But it's also Volkan sometimes kind of looks lame. You know what I'm saying? He looks flat-footed, and he's winning. He just kind of looks like his mind is half in it, or he also leaves his head way too high often. But yeah, I think Magomed Ankalaev, this is a great fight for him. Really put his name out there. This is going to be a fun one here, and he's gone a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, Volkan arguably beat Dominic Reyes as well, man. He looked, he arguably beat him. He split his nose and he broke his nose. And, he had a 2-fight winning streak after that. And then, our friend Yuri Prohashka comes in and just like spoils the party a little bit. So, yeah, look, he should be ranked a lot higher than number 8, in my opinion, Volkan. But I still think he's going to lose to Magomed.
Yeah, I got Magomed in this one. What do you guys think? Fight of the night, sub of the night, KO of the night, UFC 267. Ray, what's your predictions on these one? What do you see coming in?
Sub of the night.
It's impossible to I don't know. That's a tougher one.
Oh, that's a tough one. Knockout of the night is either gonna go to the Pierre John Cory fight.
Whew, like that.
Or
nice.
The Jan first Glover fight. So the 2 title fights, I think, is where knockout of the night is going to come through. And fight of the night, I believe, is going to be either Khamzat Chimaev first Li Jingliang or Islam Makhachev first Dan Hooker.
Yeah, those are good ones. Ash, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I actually think you got it on the head. I think the Islam and Dan Hooker fight is going to be fireworks. I genuinely don't think they like each other, which is going to make this even more interesting. And I think it's going to be a great fight. And as for the knockout, the top knockouts, it makes sense, man. Jan, Glover, Peter, and Cory, they're all knockout artists. At least Glover was anyway at one point. So yeah, definitely agree with that. That's a great point.
Yeah, totally agree. What else we got going on in MMA? We got Dana White Contender Series, which is probably already gone by the time this goes up to air. PFL 2021 10. Kayla Harrison's a good friend of the show, going to win $1 million. So check that out. I don't care who she's fighting. She's going to win $1 million. It's me. Yeah, this is right. Clarissa Shields arguing with everyone on Twitter. She's also fighting on the card. One Championship is back, continuing their women's atomweight Grand Prix. Check that out. But yeah, UFC 267 is clearly the big one coming into this weekend. Boys, before we head out of here, what else we got going on? Ray, where can the people find more of you?
So check us out, the Weigh In podcast. But when you type into YouTube, just type in the space Weigh In as one word. So the Weigh In, you can find us there. Me, Andrew, Abbas, Steve, the whole crew. Weigh In podcast. Shout out Weigh In alumni like Clive. But yeah, Weigh In podcast where we talk boxing and all things in that world. So it's been nice to venture into the MMA world again. So thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on the show. It's always nice to have a guest from the Josh Thompson and Big John McCarthy podcast. Thanks for coming on the
show. yeah, it gets a bit techie, but look out for our one. After you see their one, keep scrolling and you'll see us.
That's great. Ash, where can the people find more of you? Tell them what's going on this week.
Oh yeah, so just you could just follow me on Instagram, ashmma.cks. We've got loads of interviews coming up, actually, over the next few days. Big one on Sunday. I really want to announce it, but, let's just see what happens. That one coming up. But, yeah, it should be a good one. I'll tell you off air, Ray. But, yeah, not much else to say, man. Really looking forward to this event on Saturday.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a good one. This is going to be a great fight. You can check me out, Tim Wheaton MMA, on Instagram and Twitter. You can check out Catholic Sports, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and Twitter too, if you want, and Facebook technically, but no one uses that. Pretty much we're on every platform and knowing you everywhere. Folks, enjoy the UFC 267. Let us know who your picks are and all that good stuff, and we'll talk to you gentlemen later. Ray, huge shout out from the Weigh In podcast. Thanks so much for coming on the show, sir.
Much love for having me, man. All the success in the world, and as always, I'm going to be tuned in, so people stay tuned in.
Cheers. Thanks, boys.